What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. The Suicide Squad, we got a full trailer for this a couple weeks ago and we're so excited. It's coming to HBO Max this August and fans are super pumped to see which characters will be returning, and it sure looks like we'll be seeing some new wacky characters as well. I'm your host, Taylor McWatters, and we're back with a part 2. You know why you're here, you know what to expect. Let's just get to it, guys. Here are the top 10 strongest Suicide Squad members, part 2. Let's rock. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Weasel. He's one of those new additions to the team in the highly anticipated James Gunn soft reboot, but who exactly is this sketchy looking villain? All I know is that James Gunn's brother is doing the physical stuff for him, which is great. He did all the work for Rocket Raccoon and Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's gonna be fun. Whatever it is, it's gonna be fun, but who is this guy? Is he powerful? Is he evil? What's his deal? Well, he made his first debut back in Firestorm Volume 2, Issue 36. He made his mark at Stanford University working alongside Professor Martin Stein. Even before this happened, he wasn't liked by other students. He was deemed an unremarkable and unlikable man, and sadly was given the nickname Weasel. He wasn't a fan of this, obviously. It made him pretty insecure, so when he got hired as a teacher at Canterbury University, he was easily fed up with the other faculty members, as it was just those mean students grown up. Of course. So he viewed them as a threat, obviously, and he dressed up like this Weasel character and started taking them out. He started attacking them one by one. Now, as far as Suicide Squad members go, this is one of the weaker ones pulled out of Belgrave Penitentiary. But he is going to be in the new film, so we got to talk about him at least a little bit. He didn't last long in the comics either. His last issue was Doom Patrol and Suicide Squad Special Issue 1, where during a mission to rescue Hawk, Weasel took out the Thinker, who I'll mention later on in this list. And then when Rick Flag put on the Thinker's helmet, the Thinker's last thought took over and Rick ended up being the one to take the Weasel out. I'm pretty sure this is gonna happen in the movie, but if not, we're still happy. He appeared later on in the comics as well, but this was during the Blackest Night storyline when he was revived as a Black Lantern. And before we continue on with this list of Suicide Squad members, guys, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, that would be great. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your support. We're gonna get right back into the video. Let's go. Number 9, Bane. It's kind of hard to forget a villain like Bane. He's a big fan of, breaking backs. And when you break the back of somebody like Batman, you're gonna have to be locked up away for probably a little while. Bane is a super smart villain, and the steroid called Venom that's being pumped into his veins sure does help get the attention of the Suicide Squad. I mean, once you break the bat, that's a pretty good audition, I'd say. At the end of the series Suicide Squad Raised the Flag, Amanda Waller recruited Bane to the Suicide Squad, and we once again see Bane rocking the camelback of strength. He's got his Venom again, this time in Outsiders issue 50. The team makes their grand entrance, and Bane, right off the bat, doesn't like following the instructions of leader Rick Flag. Flag says to just simply use the stun gun, and Bane's like, nope, gonna do it my way, thank you, sir. So it's no surprise when the team tricks Bane in Salvation Run issue 2. See, they're assigned to ship villains to Salvation by using boom tubes, and Bane and Deadshot ended up being sent as well. Yeah, get that psycho out of here. Go break some other backs. Or don't break backs, how about that? Go back into jail. Number 8, Killer Croc. A face we saw in David Ayer's Suicide Squad, a face that's rather terrifying and a face you wouldn't really forget. Killer Croc, aka Waylon Jones, made his first appearance in Detective Comics issue 523. He was born in Florida and faced a medical condition that, well, look at him, it turned him into a crocodile. When he was an adult, he began wrestling alligators at carnivals just to make ends meet, hence the name Killer Croc. That was his stage name at first, but realizing crime was suited best for Waylon, he left the carnival and became one of Gotham's most feared criminals. He wasn't a member until the recent 2016 run of Suicide Squad, and he's like, okay, anything but space. I'll do the missions as long as it's not in space. First mission they go to, space. Number 7, Outlaw. John Henry Martin made his first debut in Manhunter issue 16, but he did in fact join the Suicide Squad in issue 58 of the run from the early 90s. But where exactly did his villain journey start? Well, while John was serving time in prison, because that's how every supervillain starts in comics, this bomb called the Gene Bomb exploded and it gave him super strength and it allowed for him to be protected against attacks as well. He couldn't control his abilities well, but he did have these super abilities. He escaped prison, but he didn't get too far being, unexperienced in these new abilities. So he, alongside other Gene Bomb metahuman victims, were put in Belgrave prison, but they couldn't find any traces of these powers that he used, so they just had to send him back out to the first prison that he easily broke out of the first time around. And during the transportation to go back to that prison, he broke out near the Florida-Georgia border, and then Bob's your uncle. Number 6, Atom Smasher. He's the grandson of the supervillain Cyclotron, so you already know he's gonna be a hard time. Meet Albert Rothstein. He made his comic book debut in All-Star Squadron issue 25, and his powers were passed down. Those powers being pretty spectacular. He can control the size of his body. He can change his molecular structure, and he was also the godson of the Golden Age version of the Atom, Al Pratt. In 52, issue 24, Amanda Waller recruits Atom Smasher to go against Black Adam. He actually recruits the squad himself, where he brings on Count Vertigo, Electrocutioner, Persuader, Plastique, and Captain Boomerang 2. Number 5, Captain Boomerang. Okay, so I mentioned Captain Boomerang 2, but we gotta talk about the original, the OG Captain Boomerang. We saw him in the first Suicide Squad movie played by Jai Courtney, and he made his first appearance back in The Flash issue 117. George Harkness was originally a Flash villain, and if you can take on the fastest man alive, you've got a pretty good resume. So far, so good. His skill set shouldn't shock you given his name, Captain Boomerang. He was the son of an American toy maker, and he created these special boomerangs that helped him get into trouble, alongside his pal McWatters. Nothing more intimidating than a guy with boomerangs. Okay. So of course, Amanda Waller had to recruit this wacky villain. In exchange for a pardon and a prison release, of course, he was sent in to attack Brimstone at Mount Rushmore. I'm excited to see James Gunn's version of Captain Boomerang. He's said to be more or so the same as his version from the last one, but we'll see. He might have a little flashier outfit. I'm okay with that. Number 4, Chemo. He made his first debut at Showcase issue 39 in a story called The Deathless Doom. Now, the scientist kept failing, one experiment after another, but he kept working. He was dedicated to the cause. For science, people, for science. So Chemo was not the name of the scientist. No, the scientist's name was Ramsey Norton. Chemo would be an awful name for a scientist. Chemo was the name he had given this plastic vessel to store all these chemicals after the experiments had failed. Big old vat of yuck. So when he finally added some failed growth formula to the mix, this vat came to life. This toxic creation who kept the name Chemo, of course. He ended up taking out the poor scientist that had created him, which is right off the bat truly evil stuff. I feel bad for Chemo though, I'll be honest, because he didn't find out he wasn't a living thing until Supergirl told him in Supergirl Volume 4, Issue 5. She told him he's just a collection of chemicals, and he was so upset he dispersed himself in the atmosphere and then it rained. In Adventures of Superman, he did join the Suicide Squad briefly in issue 593. He worked alongside Manchester Black, Plasmus, and Shrapnel, and their plan was to take out Superman. Number 3, The Thinker. He made his first debut in The Flash issue 12 back in the 40s, and he's been around for quite a while. And while his alias doesn't sound too intimidating, Clifford DeVoe is not one you want to mess around with. We can see him in the trailers for James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and I feel like he'll be around in the movie for quite a while. It seems like he's in quite a good amount of shots. He began his life as Keystone City's district attorney back in 1913, but his life changed when he joined mob boss Norvac one night when he was intoxicated. Just one of those decisions you make when you're drunk and you're like, well, I guess I'm just gonna roll with it. He offered his skills, well, his services rather, as a thinker, a preparer of alibis and legal precedents in order to keep bad guys out of jail. So Novak was like, score, we could definitely use you on our team. Let's go, here's a house, enjoy. So Novak was later on tricked by the Thinker himself when he shot at a reflection in a steel mirror, which caused the bullet to ricochet and then hit himself. So the Thinker wasn't even involved in this case. He had nothing to do with it, really. He got on the Flash's naughty list, but when the Thinker developed the thinking cap, it allowed him to project mental force upon his enemies. So he's got the brains and power to take down many foes. He accepted a mission with the Suicide Squad in order to get a full pardon, where he was seemingly taken out by the Weasel of all people. But in reality, he survived because he's smarter than that. He's a thinker. He actually went on to become friends with Jay Garrick, and you know what? We love a change of heart. Number 2, Peacemaker. John Cena himself is making his debut as Peacemaker in James Gunn's Suicide Squad, but he's also getting his own spin-off series. How exciting is this? When he was first asked about the role during DC Fandom, Cena himself compared the character to a terrible, cocky Captain America, which sounds about right. So Christopher Smith showed up early in comics with the Fightin' 5 issue 40. That was when he was with Charlton Comics. He was part of a paramilitary force that kept the world safe. I mean, he didn't even carry weapons that could cause bodily harm. That's how much he meant well. But then after Crisis on Infinite Earths, he entered DC Comics with the same name, only now he has no problem taking out bad guys, all while spreading peace and love. So the guy's a maniac, basically. To be honest, I could probably watch this guy for an entire season of a show. Definitely. John Cena is great. He's so funny, and he's also so ripped and humongous and terrifying. So it's gonna be a good time. And finally, number 1, Killer Frost. Louise Lincoln, aka Killer Frost. She's actually the second Killer Frost in the comics, but she made her debut with Firestorm Volume 2, Issue 21. She was actually a friend and co-worker of the previous Killer Frost, but after that Frost had passed away, somebody had to step up, right? So she repeated the same experiment, and voila, we have a new and improved Killer Frost. She immediately went after Firestorm because, you know, they were to blame for the death of the previous Frost, which is always great when we have a villain do a nice grudgy start like that. She ended up selling her soul to Neron for more power, so it's safe to say you want to keep your distance with this one. She joined the Suicide Squad briefly in the comics, and she was also a key member in the animated Suicide Squad film Hell to Pay. Well guys, there you have it. Are you looking forward to the new Suicide Squad soft reboot by James Gunn? How are we feeling about the hashtag release the Ayer cut? Do we want to see that? Are we kind of done with it? Let us know your thoughts and concerns in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Taylor McWatters, and we'll see you next time on Top 10 Nerd. Peace.